All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we are now going to get into talking about um, the best revenge games for 2025 in the NFL. And I forgot to mention Jackson Merrill's contract extension. So it's a 9 year, $135 million contract worth up to $204 million and includes an option for a 10th season. He's 21 years old. And, the Padres, they got ahead of the curve. They signed their young player before, he's able to reach the open market. And obviously the price would definitely be higher. And you see the prices are getting driven up in baseball, especially look at the contract that, Juan Soto got. So this was good. And it is interesting the Padres did this because there's all these concerns about are they going to be able to afford the team that they have because of everything that's gone on with ownership and things like that. So, and they've gotten off to a great start. So, I think the Padres are going to be able to keep this team around, and this team is going to be seems going to be a dangerous team come October. So there's that, and also forgot to mention this last in the beginning of the show because I didn't really go into it. But also, Nikola Jokic, third 60-point triple-double in NBA history last night. And it did come in a loss. But, we talked about Steph Curry, but, Jokic, what he's doing, and one of my friends just said in the chat, Jokic is crazy, man, and I would agree. So I apologize for not bringing that up because I was in bed by the time that Timberwolves Nuggets game ended. So I was already talking. The Steph Curry performance already happened, so that's what we were opening up with. But yeah, he has my vote for MVP, but it might be going to Shea. So let's talk about these revenge games. So most of them are going to be from the playoffs, right? So I think the number one revenge game for next year in the NFL is obviously, the Chiefs going up against the Eagles next year. And, it's because the Chiefs, they got run over in the Super Bowl. They got dominated. They got embarrassed in the Super Bowl by the Eagles. And, we talked about that a lot on the football podcast. I definitely watching that game. It was like it was similar to, in a way, but we did see Mahomes get embarrassed in the Super Bowl before, but it was kind of similar to, how I was watching, the Broncos Seahawks game. I was like, wow, Peyton's getting embarrassed. Team with Peyton Manning is getting embarrassed. And a team with Patrick Mahomes got embarrassed. The way they did, that was worse than the Bucs Super Bowl. That was. And you could make the argument that was worse than, what happened with Peyton Manning and the Broncos against Legion of Boom. But it's not like the Chiefs had a record-setting offense. But, they were going for a three-peat. But, this is one of the biggest. This is the biggest revenge game. Because the Chiefs, they are going to be sitting on this loss. They're going to continue to sit on this loss for a long time. And, when they go up against the Eagles, they're going to want to bring it to them and get revenge. I'm sure they're going to want to do that. Now, I don't know if this game, I think this game is going to be, this game's going to be an Arrowhead. This game is going to be an Arrowhead because I know they did play in the regular season in 2023. That was an Arrowhead, but if you go back to when they played the previous time in the regular season, that was at Lincoln Financial Field. That was Hurts' first full year as a starter. It's going to be an Arrowhead this time around. So you do have home field advantage. But, hey, the Eagles won an Arrowhead the last time they played. So there's no guarantee the Chiefs would win that game. But you got that one. You got the championship game. The championship game rematches, with the Bills and The Bills and the Chiefs, and then, of course, the Commanders against the Eagles. The Bills, they beat the Chiefs in the regular season, but they fell short in the championship game. And, we talked about the Ravens and how they're not able to get over the hump. Well, the Bills, it's the same thing. They basically lose to the Chiefs every single time they make it to the playoffs. They did lose to the Bengals that one year in the Josh Allen era. Well, they did also lose to Deshaun Watson and the Texans. That game actually was on NFL Network the other day. How times have changed since that game was played. But yeah, that's another one. But the thing is, the Bills own the Chiefs in the regular season. The only time the Bills have lost to the Chiefs in the regular season, I think, was during the COVID season. Other than that, Josh Allen has knocked off Patrick Mahomes every single time. So, when the Bills get revenge? When they knock off the Chiefs in the playoffs. That's when they really get revenge. That's when they will get revenge. So, yeah, if you knock them off in the regular season, okay. But knock them off in the postseason. Commanders, it's a little different. We didn't expect them to get that far in the playoffs. We did not. I did not expect. I didn't expect them to make the playoffs. I didn't expect them to win a lot of games. They made it all the way to the championship game. And you know what? If it wasn't for turnovers, that game would have been closer. And they split with the Eagles. They're going to be an even better team in 2025. They're going to give the Eagles a hard time. They've given the Eagles a hard time in years past. The year before, they were close games. And that was when the Commanders were bad. So now, 2024 comes around, they split. I think the Eagles maybe would have swept had Jalen Hurts not gotten hurt. But this Commanders team now, in year 2, with this system, with Cliff Kingsbury, Jaden Daniels, you went out and you got Deebo Samuel, you traded for Laremy Tunsil. The offense is going to be better. You would think the defense is going to get better. We haven't gotten to the draft yet. Commanders have a strong draft. That only makes them better. So, they're going to want to bring it to the Eagles as well. So you got those playoff match. And you also got the Bills and the Ravens. They'll be going at it. Mark Andrews drops that pass in the end zone. That was the 2-point conversion. That could have led, to maybe a different result. That didn't happen. Ravens also just turned the ball over constantly in the game. I think they had, 4 turnovers? They had 2 in the second half. Or no. I think it might have just been the one with Mark Andrews. So they had 3. They had the 2 by Lamar Jackson. The fumble and the pick. And then you also had the Mark Andrews fumble. And the Ravens, they beat the Bills in the regular season. Derrick Henry had almost 200 yards rushing. But that's one that, you get to see, the top 2 quarterbacks go at it again. At least in terms of the MVP voting. Josh Allen won the MVP. Lamar Jackson got first team All-Pro. So who says no to that? Of course, we got the Chiefs and the Ravens. They played each other way back in the beginning of last year to open up the season. Isaiah Likely, his foot was just out of bounds, and had he caught that, who knows what happens. Do the Ravens, succeed on the 2-point conversion, and then, that starts a ripple effect? I don't know. But we will see Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson match up once again. You got new faces, you got old faces in new places. DK Metcalf will be going up against the Seahawks at some point. Seahawks and the Steelers will play against each other. Cooper Kupp going up against his former team twice a year. DeMarcus Lawrence will be going up against the Cowboys. That'll be interesting just because, of the back and forth he had with Micah Parsons. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers signs with the Steelers, I mean, they play the Jets and the Packers. So that's going to be up there too. That's when Aaron Rodgers goes up against I mean, too bad he's not going back to Lambeau though. If he signs with the Steelers, the Packers are coming to Pittsburgh to play him. So, and I would love to go to that game. But I mean, the biggest revenge games come from the playoffs from last year. So, Aaron Rodgers could be added to the list, right? He definitely can. And Art Rooney, he recently spoke on Aaron Rodgers and said it's heading in the right direction. So I'm assuming we're going to get a deal at some point. I mean, I don't think Rodgers would be working out with DK Metcalf and throwing him passes if he was thinking about if he was going to retire. But again, I could be very off base with that. So, but let me know what you guys think though about the biggest revenge games. What's the revenge game? I'd like to see the Giants get revenge on all the teams in their division. That would be nice. Because they didn't win one divisional game last year. They went 0-6 against their division. And it would not surprise me if that continues. So there's nobody's high on the Giants going into the year. And honestly, that might be a good thing. Because the Giants usually do well when they are doubted. But I would like to see the Giants get revenge on all the teams in their division and, maybe put up a respectable season. But it's going to be very tough to do so. But let me know what you guys think, though, about the top revenge games. I think also you could throw the Packers going up against their divisional opponents because they only won one divisional game last year. They lost to the Lions twice, they lost to the Vikings, and they lost to the Bears in the final game of the regular season. Now, the Vikings are going to look a little bit different at quarterback. There's going to be no more Sam Darnold. You could talk about, I mean, there's always divisional revenge games are a given because, they play each other twice a year. So, but just thought I'd, bring this into a segment here. So, that is pretty much it with that topic. But like I said, let me know what you guys think about, the revenge games for next year. What's the one you were most excited for? Let me know in the comments. So we are going to take our final break of the show now. And then when we come back, we will talk about the Houston Texans. We will do a season overview on their 2024 campaign. I know it says 2025, but 2024, 2025 recap. We'll get into that. We'll discuss it. And actually, while we're here, I guess I'll just change that to a 4. There we go. We're all good. Okay. Little typo there, but because that would just annoy me. But that is what we will do when we come back from our final break of the show. Go over the Houston Texans season and what they've done in the offseason, and what moves have they made, and what they could potentially do with their first draft pick. So, for one final time today, make sure to stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast.